नहीं गया, नहीं हुआ, ऐसी है, नहीं गया, नहीं हुआ, लाइट लाइट उसको मालूम है यार का नहीं चालू हो गया, बंद कर उसको, मैं बुला ले यार, वो पीछे का बंद कर रहे हैं।
Well, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Please welcome on dais well-known cricketer and international cricketer, Dr. Shivendra Gupta, Honorable Vice-Chancellor, Veer Narmad, South Gujarat University, Shri A.V. Dhaduk, In-Charge Registrar, and Shri David Paul, Director, Youth Welfare and Physical Education. I also welcome the members of Senate and Syndicate, deans of various faculties, heads of various departments, university officials, university teachers, invited guests, and most importantly, the fans of cricket who have come to listen to this very special lecture on importance of fielding in cricket. If Sachin Tendulkar is god of cricket, undoubtedly Jonty Rhodes is simply the god of fielding. Please welcome him once again with a thunderous round of applause. Rhodes single-handedly revolutionized the art of fielding, and more importantly, he made the cricketing world realize the importance of fielding, which was neglected in the older times. There's no better fielder at a backward point in a point region than him. A strong and athletic personality, astonishing diving efforts, has given many spectacular moments for the cricketing fans to cherish forever. Jonty Rhodes is also known as Superman of fielding. Jonathan Nail Rhodes is a South African cricket commentator and a former Test and One-Day international cricketer. He has played for South African international team between 1992 and 2003. This is a very special moment at the university that we have a great cricketer in our midst. This is for Mr. Rhodes to take note of, that our Honorable Vice Chancellor has been an avid sports person and has been taking very special interest in the events related to sports. May I request Dr. Shivendra Gupta, President for the function today, to first offer the welcome address and presidential remark. Dr. Shivendra Gupta for all of you.
Our Honorable Chief Guest, Mr. Jonty Rhodes, In-Charge Registrar, Honorable Arvind Dhaduk, and our Sports Director, Mr. David Paul. Our university is honored to have a guest like Mr. Jonty Rhodes, who did really well, exceptionally well in cricket, particularly in the area of fielding. In 1992, he made his debut against India, and he played cricket till 2003, Test cricket till 2003. In those years, Jonty Rhodes was synonymous with excellent fielding. I believe that outside a wicketkeeper normally takes more catches than any other fielder on the field of cricket. Apart from that, Jonty Rhodes has done exceptionally well in 52 test matches. At backward point, Jonty took 34 catches. But those catches do not tell you the whole story, because the runs he saved for the team were as many as he scored, many times. And he agreed with me. The runs he saved for his team were as many as he scored. Initially, batting was not his very strong point, but later on he developed batting, and in later years his average was 50 plus. That is a great achievement indeed. Very few people know that he represented South Africa in hockey also. He was selected for the Olympic team of South Africa, but for the political reasons, that team could not go to Olympics, but he was selected to represent South Africa. I want you to know that he loves this country very much. His daughter, one of his daughters, he has named India. I have been with him for the last 45 minutes, and I'm bowled over by the humility that he has. He is extremely humble, very human, and you would want to know more about Jonty than you know about him. One statistics which I gave him and which he was not aware of was that he played as many tests as Sir Donald Bradman, 52. And he played as many innings as Sir Donald Bradman, 80. Then he interjected, "Sir, there ends the similarity."
There ends the similarity, yeah.
He said, "There ends the similarity," because Don had an average of 99.94 and he had 35.66 to be exact.
Thank you.
It is his humility that he interjected immediately, and he said that please don't compare me to Sir Donald Bradman in any way, because he was the greatest batsman that the world has ever seen. Sir, this is holiday season in India. People are on holiday, and our university also right now in the holiday mood, but seeing you come, when they found out that Jonty is coming to visit us, you see so many people have come to listen to you, and I would not take much time, and I would request you to address our gathering and tell them the secrets of fielding and fitness. Thank you very much.
Just a minute. I would
not
request
yet.
you to
Okay.
have your seat. I think who better than Dr. Gupta can speak about a cricketer, because he has written 2 books on cricket. I think if the people in audience is not aware, Dr. Gupta has been an avid follower of cricket as a game and many other games, and he has written 2 books on that, and therefore he has an encyclopedic knowledge on cricket and many other games. I think this is a knowledge for Jonty Rhodes also. Moving on the function, we move on to felicitate our guests. We have Mr. Jonty Rhodes, as all of you know, as our chief guest. He would be felicitated and welcomed by Dr. Shivendra Gupta, our own Vice Chancellor. May I very kindly request Dr. Shivendra Gupta to welcome Jonty Rhodes with a bouquet, a shawl and a memento.
Thank you, sir.
It's the Indian tradition.
Thank you very much.
It's a small gift from us.
Okay, thank you.
These are 2 books for you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. May I humbly request Shri A.V. Dhaduk to welcome and felicitate our Honorable Vice Chancellor, Dr. Shivendra Gupta. May I request, thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you.
May I request Shri Paul David to welcome Shri A.V. Dhaduk, in charge Registrar, Veer Narmad, South Gujarat University. Thank you, sir. May I request Shri A.V. Dhaduk, in charge Registrar, Veer Narmad, South Gujarat University, to welcome Shri Paul David, Director, Youth Welfare and Physical Education. Thank you very much. Now, without wasting any further time, I would very humbly request Jonty Rhodes to come forward and give his special lecture on importance of fielding in cricket. Jonty Rhodes for all of you. Welcome him with a thunderous round of applause.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody.
Do you mind if I walk around? Because if I stand here, you're not going to be able to see me. I'm a little bit short. So do you mind if I come out? Is that okay? You don't mind if I stand in front? Okay, just be careful though. I have to warn you, ex-cricket players, when we get given the microphone, we don't like to give it back. Okay, because not many people give us the chance to be in the limelight. Our days are finished. So when the spotlight is on and the microphone is with me, I like to keep it. So somebody in the audience here, you're responsible, sir. Time out. Jonty, enough. Cut it off. Okay, thank you for being here. Thank you for the warm welcome. I do appreciate it. I know that it is holiday season. How do I know it? Because when you play outside now, it is really hot. So with the IPL for 9 seasons for Mumbai Indians, which finished in 2017, was my last season. Any Mumbai Indian supporters here? Okay. See, I'm still wearing blue. So even though I'm not there, I'm still there in spirit. 9 seasons was incredible. But it did mean that I was in India 9 summer holidays. From March, April, through May. And sometimes even the final was in June. So I understand a little bit about summer holidays. So thank you for taking your time out straight from the cricket academies. Where are the cricket boys here? And the girls? Yeah, no, thank you. You can see the ladies here too. Okay, so the importance of fielding is not my lecture. You'll be happy to know. It is not my lecture. But the importance of fielding to me has given me an important opportunity, or a great opportunity, to be able to talk to people around the world about the lessons that I was taught as a young person that got me to be a good fielder. So do you know, for a while, I was voted and ranked as the number 1 fielder in the world. Only because there was no number 2 and no number 3. Just number 1. Fielder. I was the only guy diving around. Everybody else, or Mr. Gavaskar fielding in the slips. Hey, ball boy, throw the ball. Nobody else wanted to field. So I was number 1, but there was no number 2, no number 3, just 1 for a long time. I certainly made the most of that. Because now if you look at the fielding, if you watch an IPL now, they'll have classic catches or 10 good fielding moments. At the start of the IPL, my career, 2009 was the first year. Only the overseas players were taking good catches, were doing good fielding. Out of 10 catches or 10 good fielding, 8 of them overseas players. Now if you look at the IPL, you look at 10 catches or 10 great fielding moments, 6 or 7 Indian players, which is amazing. It really is. And it's not because I was the fielding coach. It's not because of that. But it's because that people have identified and recognized in the team, especially in T20, is that fielding has become the third element of the game of cricket. Always. Batting and bowling was always there. But now fielding is just as important. And it's not just T20. Can you imagine if South Africa is playing India? Virat Kohli gives you half a chance. Do you want to drop it or do you want to catch it? Exactly. Who wants to give Virat Kohli 2 chances? No ways. Double 100 coming for sure. Okay, so Test cricket, fielding is just as important. And that's the end of the importance of fielding lecture. Okay, let me give you a bit of a history with regards to me growing up. And the reason why I became a good fielder, not just because nobody else was fielding, but there were certain things that I was taught and I put into practice as a young man that allowed me to reach the top of my game. And the top of your game could be education. It could be in the school. It could be music. It could be art. And hopefully sport as well. Okay, so the skills, the lessons, the life lessons especially that I learned, you can transfer, because when I finished playing cricket for South Africa, I retired in 2003. So long before the IPL. IPL, the first year was 2008. So for 5 years, with no IPL, I actually worked for a bank. I have a Bachelor of Commerce degree. I studied at university, have a Bachelor of Commerce degree, Economics and Marketing. And I worked for Standard Bank, who were a sponsor of the 50 over cricket in South Africa. So that was my future. I was going to work for a bank, retire from cricket, but the great thing about this game is that no matter how many times you retire, it keeps calling you back, which is wonderful for me because I'm still really passionate about the game. But growing up in South Africa, I grew up, we have elections today. Today is our elections in South Africa. So sadly, I'm not getting a mark on my finger, on my thumb. But in South Africa, when I was growing up, it was called an apartheid government, white only. Apartheid means living apart. Different races, different cultures. So I went to school, white boys only. I played sport, white boys only. I lived in a suburb, white people only. I had no exposure to anybody else. Different cultures, different languages, different ideas. It was illegal. It was illegal for me to play a game against a black school, against an Asian school. That was the existence that I grew up with in South Africa. So for me, it's quite sad that I'm not there to cast my vote, because we've only been a democracy since 1994. So a very short period of time. And every time we have an election, it's obviously very important, the young people here especially, when you get the opportunity to vote, you need to take that opportunity or exercise your right to vote. Because in a country like mine, generations of 27, 30 years, only one race was allowed to vote. The majority of the country had no say whatsoever. So as a young boy, though, I grew up in a small town, a very small town. And my father was a principal. My mother was a teacher. So obviously in our house, education was important. But I'm one of 3 brothers, 3 boys. So you can imagine, my parents wanted us out the house. Get out. Too much energy. Everyone running, kicking, fighting, boxing, breaking things. Get out the house, break the garden, that's no problem. Don't stay inside. Smashing the clock, smashing the windows, playing all sorts of sports inside the house. Get out, use the energy. But because my father was a school principal, and in those days when I was a young man at school, when you were a school principal, you had a lathi, a stick, cane. What do you call a lathi? The police have a big one. So it wasn't a big one like the police have here. It was a small, whippy, very whippy stick. And as a principal, and an all-boys school, 600 boys, junior boys. If this was the line and you stepped over the line, one hiding. Principal, my father, he would flex his muscles, tuck, one. If you were very naughty, you went too far over the line, 2, tuck, tuck. And if you were a very bad boy, 3. 3 lashings, 1, 2, 3. But now my father knew that some of the boys, their mothers would say, but Mr. Rhodes, why are you hitting my darling boy 3 times? Why are you hitting my darling boy twice? So my father, being the smart man that he was, he thought if I can get tuck, 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 3 lashes on the same place, it's 1 stripe. Only 1 stripe. So even though the boys got 3 lashings, just 1 stripe. So my father has disciplined somebody at the school, and he goes home, he's crying, tells his mother, Mr. Rhodes hit me 3 times. She said, oh, show me. So he shows his mother, and she goes, what you talking about? X stripe, just 1. But my father, he put the practice at home with us 3 boys. So any fighting, all 3 come here, tuck, tuck, always 2, at least 2. Because 1, he can hit 1 anywhere. His practice, what, 2 or 3. So any fighting, all 3 boys come. Okay, what's the story now? Hiding first, what's the story? Broken window, hiding first, who did that? So first was practice for my father. Tuck, 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 3. 1 stripe. And the message there, which is why I have a very strong bottom. Had to have a cushion from my father. But the great message there was that he said, Jonty, when you play cricket, when you're playing instruments, I used to play the guitar very badly. When you are studying, you can be there for 2 hours on the cricket field and achieve nothing. Or you can be there for 10 or 15 minutes and practice like it's a match situation. Because he said people will tell you all your career. At school, hopefully later playing state cricket because there was no country to play for. He says people will tell you that practice makes perfect. Have you guys heard that? Practice makes perfect. When you're in the net or you're playing football, playing a musical instrument, your teacher, your coach will tell you practice makes perfect. But my father early on literally hit it into us that it's perfect practice that makes perfect. Perfect practice makes perfect. Okay, so it's not the amount of time you'll always hear. Quantity or quality. So for me as the Mumbai Indians fielding coach, you can imagine now, this time the guys have just played first qualifier. Mumbai Indians are in the final. So in the preparation for the final, when it's hot and it's humid, do you think they're going to practice for 3 hours? If they do, they'll fall over. So if you want to practice 20 minutes, but do it perfectly, perfect practice. And like I said, there was an important message that my father smacked into us at a very early age. Okay, so it's not practice makes perfect, guys and ladies. Not just practice makes perfect. It's perfect practice that makes perfect. Another thing, a very important lesson that I learned as a fielder, and again, it certainly stood me in very good stead. This time, nothing to do with getting beaten by my father, fortunately. Hello. The important thing for me was as a fielder. Now I'm the fielding coach for Mumbai Indians. And everybody's thinking, well, are you going to turn Munaf Patel into Jonty Rhodes? No chance. No chance. So what am I doing as a fielding coach? I want the fielder to be the best fielder that he can be. No matter where he starts, can I make him the best fielder that he can be? And all I would do, because I was a cricket player, I dropped catches. I missed balls occasionally. So I know as a fielder, you're watching the IPL, playing it under the ball, oh, he drops it. Straight away, the cameraman, he goes to Mrs. Ambani on the big screen. She's looking very serious. And then the next thing it goes to Jonty, fielding coach. Oh, I'm writing in my notebook, scribbling. And all I'm doing is drawing pictures because I know Mrs. Ambani is watching the big screen. I'm writing, pretending I'm writing notes here. Okay, because as a coach, I know the ball goes up. Sometimes it does go in the light. Sometimes you lose it in the crowd and it hits you on the arm or hits you on the fingers. I know as a fielding coach, you can't always have 100% catches, 100% stopping the ball. Sometimes the ball bounces. But what am I looking at as a coach? Firstly, I'm looking at the process. So the day before the game, the process, the day before the game, has the fielder, has he come to practice or has he been hiding from me? The day before, has he been hiding or has he come to practice? Was his body position right? Was he in a good position to, if the light is there, to get his hand in the way, to protect it? So the process for me was more important than the result. It's the same thing when you're studying for exams or you're doing work or you're playing a cricket match, is that you can practice as hard as you work or as hard as you can, or you can study as hard as you like. But sometimes we don't get everything that we were hoping for or expecting. Okay, so how do you then as a cricket player, how do you ride that emotions of up one day, down the next, where you've done well then you've done badly, or in my case you've done badly and done badly and done bad. Oh, one game is good. So how do you maintain that level? And for me it was about the process. Have I done the work the day before the game? So the players, if he's dropped a ball in the field, and other than Mrs. Ambani, and I'm pretending I'm writing down my notes, I'm remembering, what was he like yesterday at practice, the day before? Was he coming to me to field, or did I have to go call him out the dressing room, come back, take some catches? Okay, so the process for me was more important than the result. All right, because then as a coach as well, you keep a level, you don't get cross, because you understand that the player's put in the work, his body position has been in a good place, the process was right, but no guarantee of the result. And the second thing as a fielding coach, I'm watching, the only time I'm writing the ball, so when the ball is dropped, I'm doodling, I'm making doodles in my notebook for Mrs. Ambani. But if the ball goes past the player, and he stood still, and he's watched it go past, then I'm writing in my notebook, I'm just seeing what over. Okay, 13th over, 4th ball. Who was the bowler? Who was the batsman? And the fielder who stood there. Why didn't he go? I will ask him. He'll say, well, the ball was too far away. I say, how do you know? How it was too far? I said, how do you know? Did you go for it? No, but John, there are no buts. If you go for the ball, if you drop it, fine, process. What was the process? If you go for the ball and you miss it, at least I know. As a fielding coach, as a player, he's given 100%. And that was the one thing that stood out in my favor as a cricket player. As a fielder, that was my whole philosophy. Was that if you don't go, you will never know. And sometimes we don't want to go for the hard catch because we might drop it. We don't want to take the extra exam or do something that we're a little bit uncomfortable with because we might not be successful. Okay, ex-cricket players, we love to have the microphone, as I said, because we have little egos. Okay, we like to hear good things about ourselves. Thank you, sir. But all of us have small egos, in that none of us like to do things incorrectly, or none of us might like to fail in what we're doing. So sometimes that means that fear of failure, sometimes that means that we don't try for the ball. We don't do the extra subjects, or try a new instrument, or play a different sport, because we're not going to be the best at it. It might take us a while to get there. But that fear of failure is what keeps you on a level, and that level might be acceptable. That level might be pretty good. But what is it that's going to take you to the next level at the things that you are doing? Is by having no fear of failure. So really, really important is that I was more concerned about the players who stand there and watch the ball go past than the guys who've dived for the ball and they've dropped it. Or dived for the ball and they've missed it. Okay, so that fear of failure, as I said, none of us like to fail. None of us like to fail. But when we do fail, let's use that failure as a stepping stone. Let's use it. Let's learn from our mistakes. Rather make a mistake, learn from it, and grow, than not take the chance at all and not learn or not grow from that mistake. Okay, it was a very important lesson, and luckily it wasn't my father beating it into me. It was something that I worked out for myself. Okay, that's the second thing. A third message that I learned on the cricket field was every day, every week, every month, at school, at home, in the government and the economy, there are changes taking place. Everywhere around us, there are changes taking place. Now, some people don't like change because it might mean they now have to work a little bit harder, or they might fail for a while before they get used to that change. So they don't want to change. No, that's not for us. So that's one way you can handle change. You can turn your back and say, no, thank you. That's not for me. We don't do it this way. As a team, as a government, as an organization, as a business, we don't do it like that. The second way is to say, that's a good idea. So something changes, somebody does something differently, that's a good idea, let's do the same. Therefore, you're embracing the change. Somebody else does it and you say, let's try that as well. That's embracing change. But with regards to change, and because it's happening all the time, it is going to take place. Change is going to take place all the time. The best way to handle change is to try and initiate change. Not just embrace it, because if you embrace the change, it means you're keeping up with the other team. You're keeping up with the opposition. If you are initiating, if you're making the changes in your sport, in your business, in your industry, if you are the person or the team making those changes, then everybody else is trying to keep up to you and do what you're doing. So you think about cricket, the changes we see in cricket. It's no longer just white clothing. It's now white ball. It's no longer 50 overs. It's T20. And everyone thinks that T20 changed the way cricket's played. T20 only started the IPL. 2007 was the first T20 World Cup, which MSD with the long hair. 2007, you remember the young team went. Some of the senior players said, T20 cricket is hit and giggle, not real cricket, we're not coming. So a young Indian team won the 2007 T20 World Cup. And because BCCI thought this is a great game now, IPL was introduced, And it has gone from strength to strength ever since. And people think this is what's changed the game. But to go further back, in 1996, there was a Cricket World Cup played in 1996. Anybody remember that? Who won the Cricket World Cup in 1996? You want to remember? No, Pakistan, 99, 90 what? 92. Sri Lanka, 1996. And you know why they won the World Cup? I mean, for a few reasons. But the major reason that the Sri Lankans won the World Cup in 1996 was back in 1992 when Pakistan did win the World Cup, our first World Cup back. Sri Lanka came bottom. There were 10 teams, I think they only beat Zimbabwe, so they came 9th or 10th in that World Cup in 1992. Because the way you played cricket then, with no power play, no heavy bats or thick bats, was for the first 10 overs, the first 15 overs, your test opening batsman was the same batsman for 50 over cricket. So, defend, lay your platform. Don't lose any wickets, maybe ek wicket, just one wicket. 45 runs. So 3 runs an over, 1 wicket. Then the middle overs, Jonty, come back, tick, 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 turn, run, fast, busy. Okay, but not, then the last 10 overs. Okay, Sean Pollock, Lance Klusener for South Africa, big hitters come in, clear the boundary ropes. But just the last 10 overs. And for that to happen, you had to have wickets in hand. They were talking about wickets in hand. So last 10 you can hit as hard as you want, play fearless. Now the Sri Lankan guy said, hold on, but we tried that in 1992 and we came last. So what we want to do is we want in the first 15 overs, we want to score between 80 and 95. If we lose 3 wickets, that's okay. Because now everybody else is thinking 45 or 50. If we're scoring 80 to 100, we're taking the game away from the opposition. Because in the middle period anyway, no one is taking risk. Everyone's hitting the ball on the ground. So there's time to rebuild. So you've still got wickets in hand at the end. But the first three wickets, you can sacrifice. So the Sri Lankan openers, 2 of the shortest guys in world cricket. Sanath Jayasuriya, remember him? And Ramesh Kalawutarana, even shorter, down here. Good wicket-keeper batsman. But they were told, guys, if you see the ball, hit it. If you're aiming there and it goes there for 6, not a problem. It doesn't have to be a sexy-looking shot. It just must go for 6-up or boundary. So Sanath and Kalu came out and anything they saw, they hit. Suddenly, all the other teams are saying, who's got a pinch hitter? We had a tall off-spin bowler, Pat Simcox, hit the ball a long way, but not very consistently. Put him up the order. But the opening batsmen are now thinking, must I go for it or must I leave it for Pat? Must I still defend? Lots of confusion in our team. Fear of failure suddenly came in. Because must I strike the ball or must I make sure I don't get out? Must I wait for Pat Simcox to do all the hitting? So Sri Lanka changed the way cricket was played. And they became the world champions. From last in 1992 to world champions in 1996. They changed the way cricket is played. So for me, such an important piece of advice is that there is always change. As I said, my country has come from a white-only government to a democracy in a short space of time. So changes are happening every single day all around us. And if it's not happening in your environment, it is happening to the people that you're looking after. So no person is an island. We're all affected by the people around us. So if you don't think there's any change happening in your existence, the very people in your vicinity, change is taking place in their lives. So the 3 ways: turn your back, embrace it, or you initiate the change. Very, very important. Okay, and the last thing I'd like to talk about, and for me is the importance of fielding. This for me is the driving force behind what I'm doing after cricket. So the importance of fielding was getting me here. Because if I wasn't a good fielder, my batting average was very average. You wouldn't be coming to listen to me. Because I wouldn't have any lessons that you would want to learn. So this is now, as an ex-cricket player, the most important message. And as a fielding coach, again, I keep telling the players, in a T20 match, I mean, think of the super over Mumbai Indians played against Hyderabad the other evening, or Sunrisers. In most of the T20 matches in the IPL, the final over, the final ball sometimes, the result is in the balance. Either team could win. So all I'm always asking is my players in Mumbai Indians, save me ek run, just one run. That includes the wicket keeper. So if there's 11 players all saving one run, that's 11 runs. And often that's the difference between winning or losing, or sneaking in a super over, or not quite getting there. And that one run, when we were playing in the World Cup in 1999, South Africa played a semi-final against Australia. Alan Donald was batting with Lance Klusener. So we were 9 wickets down, playing against Australia, semi-final of a World Cup 1999. Now we'd never got to a World Cup final before. 92, semi-final. 96, Brian Lara knocked us out by himself, and 10 other West Indian players, but a good 100 from Brian Lara. 99 now. So a semi-final, a quarter-final, and now another semi-final for South Africa. And we end up losing out to Australia because they had a better net run rate. We didn't lose to them in the semi-final. This is before Super Over. The score was tied. 2-1-3 or 2-1-7, I think the score was. A very selective memory when it comes to World Cups because we haven't done very well. But the same score. Australia scored 2-1-7. We were out when Klusener and Donald were run out. Same score, 2-1-7. We needed ek run, one more run. And we would have been in the final of the Cricket World Cup for the first time. One run. Then 2003, we were hosting the World Cup in South Africa. Not for very long, sadly. We played the first round of matches. The second game, I broke my finger. So I caught the ball and it actually spilled out my hand. I dropped it because it broke my finger. So that was the second match of the World Cup. I then had to leave the squad because in a World Cup you only have 15 players. And if somebody's injured, you want to replace them, that he has to leave. So Graham Smith came in as a batsman, a cover for me, and he then played the rest of the World Cup. And the last match of that round-robin game was against Sri Lanka. They were in our pool. Sri Lanka, we were playing in Durban, and Durban is often rain. So Duckworth-Lewis has now come into the picture. The Duckworth-Lewis. And you know when you Duckworth-Lewis, every ball that's plotted, the score must be. After 11.3 overs, the score must be for the wickets. If you lose a wicket, they readjust it. So now Lance Klusener is batting again with Mark Boucher. Mark Boucher is batting well, and it's starting to rain in Durban. But you never know when the umpires will say, okay, it's raining too heavily, come off. So as a player, you can't think, this is the ball, this is the ball. It could be next over, it could be the following over. So you try as hard as possible to stay ahead of the rate without taking risks, because if you one ahead and you get out, suddenly you're 5 runs behind the rate. So Mark Boucher was told at the end of the over, whether it be the 17th over, whatever it was, the score must be 115 or 127. Because that was said on the sheet of paper you're given in the change room. This is the score after the 17th over, 127. So Mutai Muratharan's bowling, because the rain is starting, and the Sri Lankans, they need 1 point, just one, to go through. We need 2. We have to win the game. The Sri Lankans, if it rains for them, it's fine. If it's rained off, it's fine. Or if it's a tie, they get their 1 point. So Murali is on, bowling, great spin bowling. Boucher hits the 5th ball for 6. We get the score, 127. But the last ball of the over, he defends it. Because he doesn't want to get out. Because he thinks that's the score to win the game, 127. But on top of that piece of paper with Duckworth-Lewis, it says, to tie the match. This is the score. So we tied the game again, and we were out. We got 1 point. No super over, 1 point for the tie. Sri Lanka, 1 point. Yes, they go through. South Africa, 1 point. Bye-bye. Thank you for coming and hosting your own World Cup. We'll let somebody else win it. And then, when I retired from cricket, 2003 I retired, and 2004 I started working in the bank. And a couple of years later I was a business banker, and we actually started T20. We called it the Pro 20. As the bank, we sponsored it in South Africa, which is why South Africa hosted the 2007 T20 World Cup, because we were the one country that was having a T20 league in South Africa. So now we're playing Australia. I'm the sponsorship manager for the bank, sponsoring the team. And we've lost the series, the test series against Australia at home, which is not a good thing. Now we're playing the one-day series. So South Africans are all fired up. We must beat Australia. 5-match series. South Africa go 2-0 up in the series. So one more win. Series is over. We win the series. Suddenly it goes back to 2-2. Final matches in Johannesburg. The series is 2-2. And Australia bat first and they score 434. Anybody remember that? 434, world record. No team had ever gone past 400 before. So obviously, no team had ever chased 400, over 400 before. And everybody's going, oh, South Africans, they're choking again. What is going on there? Not just in the World Cups are they choking. Everywhere they're choking. 434. But in that game, in Johannesburg, the ball is at altitude. It does fly. Wicket is very good for batting. That game, Herschel Gibbs, 175. Graham Smith, 90. The team was batting like crazy men. But boundary, sixer, boundary, wicket. We get down to the last over. We need 6 runs to win. But we're 8 wickets down. So the game is in the balance. It's been one of the most exciting one-day games I have ever seen. 434 Australia scored. We already now 430. We need 6 more runs to win. Mark Boucher is batting again, but not facing. Andrew Hall is a bowling all-rounder. And Brett Lee. Have you guys heard about Brett Lee? Okay, not now as a commentator or a singer or a Bollywood dancer, but as a fearsome fast bowler. In his prime, bowling 145, 150, no problem. Except if you're the batsman, it's a problem. And now he's got to bowl the last over. And this ball is reverse swinging because Herschel Gibbs has been hitting it into the stadium, onto the road. So the ball is scuffed and it's reverse swinging. Andrew Hall is facing. We need 6 runs to win. Because Ricky Ponting's the captain. He knows Mark Boucher's on 47. If Andrew Hall scores 1 run, Mark Boucher comes back on strike. There's a good chance that Mark Boucher will win the game. So the Australian plan was don't give them a single. Keep Andrew Hall on strike. So Andrew Hall managed to hit Brett Lee for 4, first ball. Everyone in the dressing room, South Africa, come on, there's a chance. We can win this game now. We really can win it. We need 2 more runs to win. Still 5 balls. But only 2 wickets in hand. Next ball, Andrew Hall tries the same shot. And he's caught. But he's caught very close to the wicket. And Mark Boucher, they can't cross over. So now we have our last batsman. Number 11 batsman is Makhaya Ntini. He walks to the crease. And if you talk about a number 11 batsman, when you're describing Makhaya Ntini, you say number 11. No batsman. Just number 11. He cannot bat. He cannot bat. He can bowl all day. Heart of a lion, strong as an ox. He can bowl all day. But man, he cannot bat. So we're all thinking, oh no. We need 2 runs to win. So 1 will give us a tie. But 2 runs we need to win. But Makhaya is facing. There's no chance. And now for the reason why I averaged 50 at the end of my career and not throughout my career, I had a small problem I had to change. I was a hockey player and a tennis player, so a very risky batsman, which in South Africa with the bounce is not a good thing to be. Okay, you want to play the straight bat. But for me, I was more of a cross-bat player. So for 2 years from Test cricket, I was dropped out the team. I was there with the one-day team. I was there as 12th man. But I had to change my technique because I kept getting outside edge and caught. So I know an outside edge. So afterwards, Makhaya Ntini is telling us how he's played a late cut to Brett Lee. Late cut. So fortunately, Makhaya is a little bit scared. So Brett Lee's bowling, Makhaya Ntini is facing, and he steps away. Shows him the stumps because he doesn't want to get hit, Makhaya Ntini. And he gets a thick outside edge to 3rd man because they've kept a 3rd man in and a fine leg in case he gets an edge that goes in the sky. So now Mark Boucher is back on strike and the next ball, tuck, boundary. South Africa win 434 we chased. We scored 438 runs. The best one-day game ever. So now I'm the sponsor. I'm very relieved because instead of having to give the trophy to Ricky Ponting, I can give my trophy to Graham Smith, my friend, and not Ricky Ponting, who's become my friend, working with him at Mumbai Indians. Amazing guy. So it was incredible. And whenever there's a prize giving in South Africa or in cricket, there's always many dignitaries who stand on the podium. There's only space for 4 gentlemen, but there's always 7 or 8 sponsors and dignitaries who want to have their name read out. So I've always told the cricket board that I don't want to be on the podium. You give the sponsors, it's their time. Even though I'm working for the sponsor, you bring the CEO of the company in or the main sponsor, that's fine. So I'm standing there leaning on Makhaya Ntini's shoulder afterwards. While the post-match presentation is very long, it's like my talk, always everyone's talking. And I'm standing leaning on Mackay and Tini's shoulder. He's quite tall, so I'm having to lean high. And he's got this big smile on his face. I said, Mackay, you bowled your 10 overs today for I think 88 or nearly 90 runs. I said, that's a bad day to office for a fast bowler, number one bowler in the world. I said, why are you smiling so much? He used to call me Jojo. My nickname was Joe in the team and then Jojo because he had so much energy he had to do everything twice. So it wasn't just Joe, it was Jojo. So he's leaning down on my shoulder because he is much taller than me. And he says, hey, no Jojo. I said, why are you smiling? You had a bad day at the office. No Jojo. My one run. It won the game. I said, Mackay, what do you mean your one run? Herschel Gibbs, 175. Graham Smith, 90. He said, yeah, but Jojo, without my one run, we lose. Oh, you're right. You're right. So 434 had never been achieved. It was an impossible target. Impossible. And it wasn't the 175 or the 90. It was the Ek run, the one run that won the game for South Africa. One run. And the reason why I like to tell it when I end off, especially at a talk like this with young men and women in the audience, is that in a country like India, where the population is what, 1.2, 1.3 billion people, it's too easy to say, what's the point of me getting involved? What's the point of me driving through Surat and actually stopping at the red light? It's not going to make any difference. Everybody else is driving through the red light. Why should I pick up that litter? Nobody else is doing it. If I do, it's not going to make any difference. It's not my problem. It's the VC's problem. It's my mother and father's problem. It's the government's problem. It's the boss's problem. It's the captain's problem. If I get going as one person, what difference am I going to make in a country of 1.3 billion people? And I'm here to assure you that Ek Run, just like Ek Run, won that game of 438, your contribution, your single contribution, your individual contribution does make a massive difference to allowing your country to achieve its goals. And that's not just on the sports field. That's in your communities, in your business environments, at home, wherever you're working, wherever you're playing. Your contribution makes a big difference. Okay, it allows the team, it allows the company, it allows the business, the country to achieve its goals. All right, so that's the final message that I'm leaving with you. Ek Run. Your contribution. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thanks. Thanks very much. Thanks, Doctor.
I think Mr. Rhodes deserves the standing ovation that the audience has given.
Thank you.
Now we understand why he was such a live wire while he was fielding, because even while delivering his lecture, he was continuously mobile, articulate and energetic. It was really nice listening to him. There were some takeaways. Practice makes man perfect, but perfect practice makes man perfect. There were a few other very interesting things that he shared with you. The importance of process and discipline. And lastly, Ek Run. Individual contribution, your contribution, making the difference for the entire country. Well, I would now request Dr. Shivendra Gupta for his concluding remarks. Dr. Gupta, please.
I will not take much of your time, Jonty. You spoke so well. You gestured so well. Everything has sunk in. They have understood what you wanted to convey. At this point, I want to point out that you are from Mumbai Indians, and there was a player called Eknath Solkar. He took 53 catches in 27 test matches. That is a record. That is a record. He was the finest fielder this world has ever seen, apart from you. Yeah. Yes. Forward short leg. He used to field at forward short leg. And at that time, Prasanna, Bishan Singh Bedi, Venkat Raghavan and Chandrasekhar were the bowlers. So Eknath Solkar set the standards for the world, and you set them even higher. So we are thankful to you, sir, for coming and taking time to interact with us. Thank you very much again. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for adding those beautiful pieces of information which enriched our knowledge. May I, sir, in fact, before we end this function, I would request the audience to rise for the national anthem.
Sir.
There is a flight. Yeah, assembly, Jai. Jai.